Dr. Petrov, thank you very much for sitting down with me yet again for a short conversation this time. We have spoken together a while ago at the Copenhagen Investment Fair, where you talked about a bit of what you're going to be presenting in your talk about the analysis, different points. But what really captured my imagination is the behavioral analysis part, where you
Yes.
said that most of the westernized world is going away from gold because it is presented in a negative way.
Correct.
Why is it presented in a negative way, and how? Is there a way? Could there be a revolution to change their views and opinions?
Uh,
Except with the cleanse that you've talked about.
okay. Well, first of all, there has been a systematic propaganda, organized, concerted effort by governments, not just one, all major Western governments, to demonetize gold, to disparage gold, to talk bad about it. It is a barbarous relic. We are all Keynesians now. We've all adopted Keynesian philosophy now, and Keynes called gold a barbarous relic. Keynes was anti-gold in his philosophies, and Keynes put the foundation, and as all have become Keynesians, it it has become very convenient for governments to talk bad about gold because paper money has become very convenient for governments.
But
Governments can spend when they want, whatever they want, on anything they want without limits.
but isn't it in the government's interest to promote it to everybody else so that they would have a healthy economy, so that there would be, let's say, in an ideal world, in a dystopian world, everybody would have, as you mentioned, a balanced portfolio. Isn't that in the government's interest to sort of keep it afloat?
No,
No. Why is that?
unfortunately, not really. When a government is on a gold standard,
Mm.
it cannot extract value by printing money.
Mm.
It cannot inflate its debt. Government has to pay its bills. It has a strict, brutal market limit on how much they can borrow
Mm.
and therefore on how much they can spend. They cannot maintain a large military. Cannot maintain a social security network. They cannot do most of the things that they do and that they want to do. They cannot have wars. They cannot do all of those things. In other words, gold imposes golden chains on the governments, which governments hate.
Very brief.
Governments prefer to spend. You see, paper money is the health of the government, and war makes the government more powerful. So again, it's important to understand that there is a antagonistic interest between the people and the government,
Mm.
and governments can grow only at the expense of people. So as long as there is a gold standard, government remains restricted within 5 or 10, maximum 15% of the economy. And they have to collect it all in taxes. And people hate taxes, and people revolt against taxes.
Yes.
And people will run away from taxes. And therefore, governments have always hated gold.
Mm.
And therefore, governments will never push for gold or reintroducing gold. Now, you have China, and China wants to impose gold, but not because they like gold, because gold will provide credibility to their currency to
Mm.
displace the dollar, to knock down the dollar. The American empire is built on the dollar, on printing dollars.
Mm.
If they can bring down the dollar, they can bring down the American economy, they can bring down the American military
So,
power, and they can bring down the American empire.
And that could be kind of their agenda, not even a hidden agenda at this point.
It is not even hidden anymore. It is more than obvious. They're doing it all the time. It is very clear. So, similar is Russia. And Putin's approach to beat American is by undermining their monetary and financial system. He's got to undermine the bond market and therefore sell bonds to suppress the bond market and the financing ability of the American government, and probably back the Russian ruble with gold to introduce credibility and stability to the Russian ruble, the way it has been throughout the centuries with the czars, when the ruble was golden. Out of gold. And this is once again the new strategy that appears because they can't beat the Americans on the military front.
But basically you are saying that, I mean, everything moves in cycles, yes? The graphs show that, history shows that, and we know history repeats itself.
Yes, of
so
course.
We're going through the bubble, then the bubble bursts, then there's a cleanse, and then we are going up again.
If they allow the cleanse to proceed, because the Japanese wouldn't allow it to proceed.
There you go.
And Greece for 5 or 6 years have been resisting the cleansing process itself.
I have a bit of a different question. Maybe this is somewhat philosophical, but if you could be in charge of a government, if you could set up an ideal world, how would you set it up?
Well, of course, it will be gold-based, clearly.
So gold standard, back again.
But this is ideal world for the people.
Of course, yeah.
But an ideal world for the people is government is the servant
and not
of
the other way
people,
around.
and not the other way around. In an ideal world, government fears the people, not people fearing the government like they do today. Okay, so in an ideal world, right now we are in a world upside down. Governments love power, they keep power, they'll cling to the power, they do anything in their power to remain in power. So the ideal world is very easy and very clear. That will be what America was in the first 100 or 150 years of its history, when the government was only 2, 3, 4% of the economy, when there were no income taxes, no corporate taxes, so no taxation, no inflation, no major debt, when there was an American president who paid off all debts, so that the American government had zero debt. That will be an ideal world, but today's politicians are too power hungry. They're too corrupt, and unfortunately people are too spoiled to rely on governments from cradle till grave, and therefore, for free healthcare and free education and free this and free that. And where does the free come from? It comes from printing money. It comes from debt. And gold does not permit any of those things.
Well, I think you're definitely part of the soldiers who are fighting to spread the information, the correct information, because by knowing what the situation is, understanding what the situation is, and using the tools that we have at hand, hopefully maybe we can move towards this dystopian world.
Yes, slightly better world where governments are somewhat less restricted and people are somewhat more free and somewhat not subject to real estate bubbles, not subject to stock market bubbles, not subject to devastating crashes that wipe them out, like my parents were during the socialist or communist collapse.
Dr. Petrov, you are and have been amazing to talk to. Thank you so much. Don't stop the fight. Spread the good word. We will be here and we will be listening and hopefully get smarter.
I've been spreading it for the last 10 years and I'll keep doing what I'm doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.